Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we just hit 3,140 subscribers. I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers, and special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially the elite channel members: Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, Ryguy, Brendan Nelson's haircut, Salacious Crumb, TVO, ItsHoof, the Reno, and 12th Man who recently changed his name. So, time for the final video on centers for this year's draft class, and this is going to be pretty quick. Today is basically just for looking at the centers who I think would be a decent fit for the Seahawks, who are going to be lucky to get drafted. And in keeping with the rest of the draft so far in terms of centers, there really aren't that many guys who caught my eye. It's not a great draft for centers in my estimation, which is why I kind of wanted this team to address the center position in free agency, but, well, decisions have already been made. Dies have already been cast. So with that in mind, you guys already know what we're looking for at the center position. You guys already have a pretty good idea of the kind of skill set that I'm valuing here if you've watched the previous center videos. So let's just go with prospect number 1, Ryan McCollum of Texas A&M. This would be my first deep sleeper of the draft. Like I said, Texas A&M, he's 6'5", 305 pounds. So his size is legitimate. That puts him well on the same plane as some of the top centers in the NFL, possibly even a little heavier. So size is not a problem for Ryan McCollum. The Draft Network thinks he's going to be a 7th round pick, and everyone else thinks he's going to go undrafted. Pro Football Focus thinks he's a fringe draft pick, but likely to be undrafted. PFN thinks he's going to be a deep sleeper, and ESPN and Walter Football didn't even acknowledge his existence. So, Ryan McCollum, what can we say about him? He started 31 games for a very explosive offense for the Aggies, so he does have experience with a very good offense. He consistently hits his blocks and secures them, and he's good with positioning his body. So, on a technical level, he's a pretty capable center and should be able to use those techniques that he knows pretty well in order to fit in the NFL to some degree. And he's also going to be a good fit for his own scheme because of his skill set. He's mobile, he's agile, which is good given the fact that he's also quite large. So it seems to me that of the centers who I think are unlikely to get drafted, this might be the best guy. If you're looking for somebody to pick up in UDFA, I think Ryan McCollum may be your dude. The only downside I could really find for him, relative to the fact that he is, a low-level prospect, would be his strength is not great. He could stand to get a little stronger, but I think we all understand that in this particular scheme, raw strength is not the most important asset you can have. And that's prospect number 1. Probably the guy I would like to bring in the most if we decide to add a center through UDFA. So Ryan McCollum, that's my number 1 in this video. Okay, prospect number 2 now. Kendrick Green of Illinois. And this is going to be a weird one, so we're going to have to really kind of dissect this. He might be a lot better of a prospect than I'm giving him credit for. So let's take a look at this here real quick and try to decipher this. So Kendrick Green, Illinois, he's 6'3" and 300 pounds, so credible size. Big enough to play center in the NFL, credibly for sure. Pro Football Focus thinks he's going to be an early 3rd round pick. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a late 4th round pick to 5th round pick. The Draft Network thinks he's going undrafted. ESPN thinks he's going undrafted. Walter Football thinks he's going undrafted. So this is all over the place. And add to the fact that Kendrick Green is considered by some people to be likely to be a future guard in the NFL, it's a little murky here. I think Kendrick Green could be a 2nd-day pick for a team that needs a guard. I think he could go undrafted to a team that needs a center. I don't quite know what the final evaluation of Kendrick Green as a draft prospect is. As you can see, the majority of websites that I used to determine, big board standing and approximate value were indicative of the fact that he would go undrafted. But this is odd, right? Pro Football Focus basically has him as a low second rounder. So somebody's lying. And it's going to be interesting to see who it ends up being. But anyway, what I can say about Kendrick Green is he might be a guard in the NFL. He might be a center. It's unclear right now exactly what he's going to do in the NFL. Seems like he could do both, which is valuable. He's a good athlete. He actually started his career as a defensive tackle in college before he transferred to the offensive line. And he's got the athleticism to fit in a zone scheme and to be a center who's typically put on the move, which is very, very appealing to this offense, I think, for reasons I've gone into before. He's got a lot of potential, which is why he may end up being a higher draft pick than I'm thinking as of right now. He's got good lateral mobility. There's just a lot of stuff to like with him. The issue with Kendrick Green is that he's got a lot of technique problems, and those technique problems leave him on the ground frequently. One thing that came up repeatedly when you watch his play at Illinois is that he constantly finds himself just flat on his back, just missing his blocks, just in situations where he's not able to help his team at all. So there is some stuff to work on here. He does seem like he's a raw prospect, but a lot of potential here. And if this guy slips through and ends up undrafted, a team is going to get a very promising prospect using very little capital. All right, so that's prospect number 2. Now we're going to get to the third and final prospect that I would have some interest in as a UDFA. And this one is very thin, but I did notice a couple things with his skill set that appealed to me. This is Doug Kramer, also of Illinois. So another Illinois offensive lineman. 6'2", 270 pounds. Yeah, that might be a bridge too far. I already spoke about Drew Dahlman, who was 286, and I said that's pushing it a little bit. This is really pushing it. 270 pounds. This guy probably is just a future practice squatter, which is why he's almost certainly not getting drafted. Walter Football thinks he might get drafted late. As you can see, they have him as high as a 6th-round pick. ESPN thinks he's a fringe 7th-rounder, but likely to be undrafted. The Draft Network thinks he's undrafted. PFN and PFF both think he's not even worth noticing. So there isn't much to say about Doug Kramer. He's tough, and he's an all-around capable blocker at the college level, but he's probably too small to play in the NFL. If you pick him up, you're probably getting a credible practice squatter, and there is a place in the world for practice squad centers for sure. But I think that when you start talking about Doug Kramer as an NFL prospect, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. So I will just leave it at this. If he can put on maybe 20 pounds of weight somehow, maybe you have something. But yeah, this is the bottom of the barrel right here, guys. This guy has future career practice squatter written all over him. And that's everybody, guys. That's all I could find. So only 10 centers caught my eye, and 4 of them caught my eye for the wrong reasons. So one more time, let's go through everybody we evaluated, keeping in mind that the 4 guys at the top are guys that I really wasn't into after having a look at their skill sets. So Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, Josh Myers, and Quinn Miernes, they didn't do it for me. I don't see the fit. Now let's get into guys who I did like the fit on. Michael Manette of Penn State. We have Drew Dahlman, who's probably my favorite, and Jimmy Morrissey of Pittsburgh. And then Ryan McCollum, Kendrick Green, and Doug Kramer. It's not a very good draft for centers. I want to put this out there right now. If it were up to me, I would get Drew Dahlman in the 5th or 6th round, and I would probably try to bring in Austin Ryder if you want to improve at center immediately. But yeah, not in love with this draft class for centers at all. But those are the guys who caught my eye in some form or fashion. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. Thank you for watching. Next up, we have our third and final position of serious big-time need for the Seahawks at this moment, and that will be cornerback. And unlike these center videos, we're going to be a lot more optimistic and happy with what we're looking at when we get into those. But that's a video for another day. See you guys later in stream. Peace out, go Hawks. And that's my thoughts on the centers in this class.